The arrest of Abu Bakr Bashir is a reminder that countering terrorism is a permanent and extremely expensive preoccupation for governments around the world. This week, Australia's peak intelligence organisation, the Office of National Assessments, is hosting a visit from an internationally renowned expert on intelligence. The author of 3 books and numerous papers on the intelligence community, Dr Amy Zegart, was on the staff of the National Security Council for the Clinton administration and advised George W. Bush in the 2000 election. Peter Lloyd spoke to Dr Zegart in Sydney a short while ago and began by asking her about her meeting with the ONA.
Well, I'm really interested in sharing notes about how the estimates process works. I'm on a National Academy of Sciences panel in the United States to help the Office of the Director of National Intelligence improve analysis. And one of the things that we've realized is that we can learn from our allies. So I'm especially interested in how competitive analysis is done here in Australia, how estimates are caveated, how you employ dissent. One of the things that we realized in the run-up to the Iraq War with that estimating process was that dissent from the State Department, which proved to be accurate, was relegated to a footnote.
So you see groupthink as a great danger?
Yes, and I think particularly when the tempo of operations in the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, threats facing the United States, when that tempo increases, the danger of groupthink intensifies.
In books and speeches, you've been warning that the momentum of reform of intelligence communities post 9/11 has been lost. Why do you say that?
Well, the farther we get from 9/11, the more distant the memory of the attack becomes. And because reform is an unnatural act for American bureaucracies, there has to be continuous pressure on them to move forward. And once that pressure lets up, then we, in some cases, see some backsliding. I think the obvious example of backsliding today is the FBI.
What are the most egregious examples you can think of?
I think there are 3 categories that you can put U.S. intelligence reform efforts. The first category is moving slowly but improving. The second, and that's CIA and the National Counter-Terrorism Center. The second category is stalling. That would be the Director of National Intelligence. We've now had our 4th director in 5 years. That's not good. And Congress, congressional oversight of intelligence is really stalled. And then the third category is backsliding. That would be the FBI.
Why was the focus lost?
I think it's being lost in part because of time, in part because it requires leadership from the president on down to push it forward, and in part because it's hard. It's hard to take, in the FBI's case, an organization that is really extremely good at fighting crime and had this identity for nearly 100 years, and asking it to do a fundamentally different business.
Tell me about intelligence spending. What to you would be signs of misdirected spending?
There's been a lot of talk over the past few years that there are big-ticket, multi-billion-dollar satellite programs that have been funded for a long time that don't work very well. And in fact, there have been a couple of cases at least where the Senate Intelligence Committee voted on a bipartisan basis to kill those programs, and they remained for years.
Gregory Treverton, an American writer on intelligence, he's pointed out that there's a difference between puzzles and mysteries, that puzzles can be solved, but mysteries are the unknowable. Is the future threat of terrorism to you a puzzle or a mystery or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, that's what makes the terrorist threat so vexing. I know Greg Treverton, and I love that phrase that he coined. You know, the puzzle in the Cold War was something like, how many nuclear warheads do the Soviets have? There was an answer out there. There are some answers with the terrorist threat. How many al-Qaeda operatives are there in Afghanistan? There's an answer out there. It may be hard to get, but there's an answer. But the mystery part of it is always about intentions. And we often don't know our own intentions. So now imagine trying to divine the intention of adversaries who are trying to deceive you. That's the mystery part of the terrorist challenge.